Now, mainland China has reported a drop in new coronavirus infections for the fourth day in a row as imported cases fall. This as authorities shut the borders to foreign travellers and drastically slashed the number of international flights. Now, while the number of new infections has fallen sharply since February's peak, officials are still very much worried about a second wave of infections triggered by returning Chinese, many of them students. Joining me now is Rob Parsons, our chief foreign editor. Rob, is China really over the worst of it, despite fearing a second wave?
Well, I think it would be early, Annette, to say that it's over the problem. All I think we can say at this stage is that things do look much brighter in China than they have since the outbreak of the disease in Wuhan back at the beginning or the end of last year. In Wuhan, for instance, we've seen no new cases over the last 6 days, and people are being allowed to go back into the city. Businesses are reopening, offices are opening, shopping malls are opening. Until April the 8th, nobody's allowed to leave the city. But clearly that is encouraging. There's a growing confidence, I think, in the country that it is over the worst. But as you point out, there are still obviously concerns that there could be a second wave, whether that's caused by people coming back from abroad. And that seems to be the main concern at the moment. Although the vast majority of the people coming back from abroad are Chinese citizens, and not foreigners coming into the country who have essentially being prevented from doing so unless they're diplomats. Mostly Chinese coming back. But the other big concern, I think, is that if people do start to go back to work in large numbers, those who have very mild symptoms or no symptoms at all, but are actually infected by the coronavirus, could start off another wave of the disease amongst those who are susceptible to it.
Now, the fact that China, is in the meantime offering equipment and expertise across the world, is that becoming political leverage for Beijing?
Well, I think you could say that China would certainly like that to be the case. The first, I think, thing that China is most concerned to do is get its economy up and running. By many accounts, it's shrunk for the first time since the Cultural Revolution, and by as much as 10% in the first 3 months of this year. That is catastrophic. But as I was suggesting a moment or so ago, the economy is beginning to get moving again. Industries are being opened, factories are being opened. But the problem is, it's one thing to get production going and another thing to get the economy really moving, because you have to find a market. And much of the production from China is sold abroad. And with the rest of the world in recession, there isn't a market for those Chinese goods to go to. So they're caught in a tangle there. But on the political level, there's no doubt that the Chinese do sense an opportunity to try and sell themselves and their political system, their method of governance to the rest of the world. A problem that they face, however, is that everybody knows that the disease started in the city of Wuhan. And one of the reasons it was able to get going was because of the lack of transparency in the political system in China. The fact that they make life so difficult for whistleblowers, for instance. Criticism of authority is very difficult. You keep silent rather than talk. On the other hand, there's no doubt that the United States' withdrawal from global politics is helping the Chinese. If you compare the United States' reaction to what's happening now with their reaction a few years ago to Ebola, it's completely absent from the world stage. That's an opportunity for Beijing.
Thank you for that, Rob Parsons.